Don't you dare lift weights more than your handbag. Toning. We grew up being fear-mongered of how women should train. Lifting weights will make you bulky, bloated, stressed. Insert the early 2000s. And we started to get a little bit more educated, and then we were fed women train just like men, which was a great progression because yes, us women should be doing resistance training without the fear of getting bulky, which we'll talk about. But then a sad reality happened. All those research studies about weight training performance done on men, not women. So how do we actually know what to do? Well, now it's 2025, and what does the science say? Leading the charge, Dr. Stacy Sims. MSc, PhD, is an exercise physiologist, nutritionist who has worked with the most elite athletes in the world. And I've read her entire book, Roar, and listened to every single podcast she's ever been on, and joined her workout program. Today, I'm going to break down the key lessons and protocols that helps you train in a way that celebrates the unique needs us women have. So I've broken down all of Dr. Stacy Sims' information she's given out to us into 10 main lessons and 4 main protocols for us to follow. Starting with lesson number 1, women are not small men. I think that was what we were talking about in the early 2000s. It was like, oh yeah, just do everything men are do, but just like less. Turns out we have a unique physiology compared to men, so we have to account for that. Dr. Stacy Sims explains things like our menstrual cycle. That will significantly impact our performance and ability to train, and she gives specific things which will go on into the video of how you can customize your workout for your menstrual cycle. And why is that so important? Our menstrual cycle impacts our energy levels, our metabolism, and our ability to recover. Also, let's just talk about a little bit of the difference aside from the obvious that men typically taller, more muscle mass, more weight. Men actually have bigger type 2 fibers, higher glycolic capacity than women, aka they burn more glucose and oxygen, aka the muscles that make you sprint. Women, type 1 fibers, are more efficient at using fat as fuel, aka better at endurance. We're better fat burners. Doesn't mean we just fat. We'll talk about nutrition also in this video, but just realize typically if you break us down, we are more efficient at endurance, men are more efficient at sprinting. There's a lot of genetic variability. Yes, this is stereotyping. Remember this, a lot of this stuff is women as a whole and men as a whole. Because pound for pound, a well-trained woman is nearly as powerful as a male.
Women are not small men.
Lesson 2, hormones. I'm sure everywhere you look, you've seen online, hormone balancing. It's the new buzzword that pretty much now just means not being stressed and not causing stress to your body. But I think it's a trendy word and a lot of people don't know hormones. But let's have a little hormone lesson from Dr. Stacy Sims. Number 1, testosterone. What does it affect in women? Bone formation, protein synthesis, erythropoietin EPO section, which equals increased blood cell production. Another hormone that's important for this video, estrogen. And what does it impact in women? Fat deposition, inhibition of anabolic stimulus, aka make it harder to make muscle, faster, more bone growth, shorter stature, lower body mass, higher fat mass, and body fat percentage. So there's just a little thing of how we have both and how they influence women versus the idea of just estrogen makes us moody and testosterone is for men and makes you jacked and is a steroid. We got 2 more lessons and then we'll get into the first protocol. So hold tight, but these will help you understand the protocol more. Lesson number 3 from Dr. Stacy Sims. Will weights make you bulky? Now, if you're on fitness YouTube, you know that's kind of a myth. But there is still so many articles that I think like now we kind of move around. Like you see the cortisol face is the big one right now of like spin classes make you bloated and gain weight and all this. Anytime it's like exercise makes you bulky, bigger, it's in that whole ethos. It's just that's kind of the fear. Let's be real. Let's be honest with ourselves. The fear that women have from society has been certain exercises make you bigger. So let's dive into it. The reality is, yes. Lifting weights can make you bulky. Case in point, let's look at the top powerlifters, cyclists, sprinters. They got muscle. Some people may refer to that as bulky because they have a lot of muscle. But guess what? These are gorgeous athletes and they choose. So, as an average woman who is not training to be an Olympic athlete, how dare you think you are going to train hard enough and just miraculously get bulky? Don't worry, I'm not getting mad at you. But sometimes we have to check ourselves. Like, it's discrediting those women's hard work when we are like, oh, for this weight, I'm going to look like that. You think your hour of weights 3 times a week is going to turn you into an Olympic powerlifter? Let's remind ourselves. Is that a little egotistical? A little? Sorry, that was harsh truth. But yes, lifting weights can be bulky. But my God, is that hard? And that is a choice those women have, and they are gorgeous, and we should celebrate them. Now, you're saying, okay, Keltie, but like, let's talk hypertrophy. Is actually the thing that gives you nice muscle tone. Another word that has been butchered, because that's lifting weights, bulky, big. Toning seems to be lifting weights, but not big. Let's be real. That's the difference. Eddie and Keltie pop in here real fast to explain the difference between a bulked muscle and a toned muscle. Guess what? There isn't any. You can't choose to tone a muscle or get a bulky muscle. All that chooses is what your muscle will look like is progressive overload, how much you lift, and your genetics. Now, the cool thing about weight training is you can get that toned muscle a lot faster because you can lift a lot more volume in a 1 hour session of using dumbbells and barbells than you can using something like Pilates, which you just can't do as much weight in. Difference is with weights and barbells is you have a lot more potential of weight and volume progressive overload to do in that hour your workout because there's more weights versus Pilates, you're limited to the 5-10 pounds. So yes, the upper limit is a lot higher with weight training, but in terms of speed to get results, you can actually very often get it a lot faster and more efficiently with weight training versus just Pilates. I have a Pilates versus weight training video coming up soon for you guys. Like I said, I respect anyone from choosing any body type they want. That is their choice within their genetic capacity. So you might be someone who doesn't want to get bulky, so that's why you've avoided lifting heavy weights. This is actually where the science is very opposite. If you're truly adverse to larger muscles, you can still train to get strong without gaining unwanted muscle mass. You might actually have an advantage there. Neural mechanisms, mind-muscle connections, are actually more important for women's adaptation to strength training than they are for men. So by doing power moves, low rep, high weight strength training, you enhance the muscle fibers recruited for a contraction, but don't really grow the size of your muscles very much. AK, yes, if you just want to get strong without putting on size, lift heavy. You're lifting less volume. So lower reps, higher rep, it's better for you, it's better for building strength, and you're probably less likely to put on muscle. Versus, you know who lifts lower weight, high rep? Bodybuilders. Because that's going to be the biggest thing that increases just muscle size. So now you don't have to freak about your Pilates class. There's not enough weight in that stimulus, but just realize that might actually be most optimal for you. Lesson number 4 from Dr. Stacey Sims, menstrual cycle optimization, which is adapting your training and nutrition with your menstrual cycle, which we'll talk about later in the video, but let's just get the barometers of your menstrual cycle for later on the protocols. Your average cycle is going to be about 28 days. It varies between women, but day 1 is when your period starts. Day 1 to 14 of your period is your follicular phase. Day 15 to 28, your luteal phase. And ovulation happens right in the middle of those two, which is triggered from the rising and falling of your hormones during that time. Let's talk a little bit of specifics. Day 5 and 6, after your period ends, you're having a ramping up of estrogen and a rise in follicular stimulating hormone. Around day 12, your estrogen surges along with luteinizing hormone, which causes ovulation and an egg release from your fallopian tube. Then your estrogen dips, going into a nesting mode. During this luteal phase, your hormones kick into high gear. Progesterone rises, surpassing estrogen, preparing to line the uterus for egg implementation, resulting in peak estrogen and progesterone levels around 5 days before your period starts, aka PMS. No, not from Dr. Stacey Sims, but for me specifically, how I just kind of plan for it is I know week 1 and 2 of my period, I got a lot of energy. That's why I'm going hard in the gym. Around week 3, I'm going to count that my energy might be a little low. And week 4, I usually try to plan my deload recovery weeks because I know my period's coming and my PMS. And then I also just try to adapt my nutrition around that, knowing right before my period, I kind of lose my hunger. And right during my period, my hunger goes up. So just being mindful of fueling properly. So my nutrition really tries to stay the same throughout it, just being mindful of maybe just increasing a little during week 1 of my period because I'm hungry, I'm burning a little more calories, and I'm just more active during that time. So I up my calories a bit. And also just play it safe in case I underfueled a bit the week 4 of my period when my PMS symptoms is sometimes loss of appetite. So I really try and just capitalize on the hunger of week 1. And then my supplement routines really stay the same throughout it. I have my omega-3s every day, my vitamin D, protein powder, electrolyte, and AG1, which is the sponsor of this video. And the reason I love it is that I can take every day and it's nutritional insurance. Now, my nutrition isn't going to be consistent throughout the month, whether it be my menstrual cycle, I just don't have as much appetite or a lot of an appetite, or I'm traveling. And I just like that no matter how I'm eating throughout the week, throughout the month, is I know I have that backup of a wide variety of nutrients, adaptogens, and antioxidants thanks to AG1. Is it a meal replacement? No, it's definitely not. Like, I'm not like, oh, I don't have to eat vegetables because of this. It's just a backup because the reality is every day I can't have every nutrient. I'm not sitting there perfectly calculating they have enough this and this and this. And so at least I know I'm getting something from a wide variety. It's also simplified my supplement routine because that's the one thing. Trendy, fads. Every day we're told have this and have this. And like sometimes it's overwhelming. It's like, oh, I got to go buy this. And the amount of times I've seen a new supplement that is beneficial and I'm like, oh, it's already in AG1. And that is why I love it. I also love that it's NSF certified. So, you know, it's safe for even professional professional athletes who get drug tested. And of course, I'm not just going to talk about AG1 and not give you guys a code. If you use my code or scan this barcode right here, you'll get a 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free travel packets with your purchase. Thank you, AG1, for sponsoring this video. Back to it. And protocol number 1, how women should train. Step number 1, adjusting training intensity and volume based on the phase of their menstrual cycle. 2, athletes specifically, you do not have to worry anymore about getting your period on game day. I knew, especially as a swimmer, that was my biggest fear. Oh my God, nothing worse. Basketball player, at least I had baggy shorts. Volleyball, spandex, oh, the fear I would have. But actually, your hormones are most beneficial for performance during your period. So yes, the logistics of it suck, but performance-wise, so at least you can kind of have that satisfaction of like, I know I gotta deal with this, but my God, I'll be fast. So that's what I tell myself. And why? Your follicular phase equals more energy. Now your luteal phase, so remember, starting around day 15, your blood plasma can drop up to 8%. Which has a huge impact on hydration and cooling strategies. So that's another thing. It's just like your ability to recover won't be as great during this phase as well. So take that into account. Your temperature is going to be off and just you have to be more aware of your hydration. And then of course, going into week 4, PMS time, it's going to be harder to recover and it's going to be even harder to exercise. So just be mindful. That is when I'm someone who's a big component personally of having multiple different forms of fitness. You can have things like yoga, Pilates, weight training. So really count the first 3 weeks in your training is when you're going to get the most bang for your buck. Don't force it in week 4 because guess what? You just can't do as much. So you won't see the results as much because you're not pushing yourself as hard. And I think that's a misconception. It's more your body's not able to push as hard and not be able to recover as much. So that's why you won't see as great of results if you save all your hardest workouts for your PMS time. You can, it's just cruel. Lesson number 5, women need to build muscle. We talked about before the fear of being bulky, but why? It's just especially important for bone health and metabolic function. That's why we have to get strong. It's going to help us as we age, which I'll talk about later on in the video, actually specifics for menopause and pregnancy, but that's why it's so important. And then utilizing those kind of training protocols will allow you to optimize your training. Later on in the video, I'm going to talk about specific within that menstrual cycle of how to adapt your training. Speaking of protocols, protocol number 2, nutrition. The importance of nutrition that supports hormone balance, bone health, and muscle recovery, and what to do about this. Number 1, most important, adequate fueling. Lots of hormone disruption results from inadequate nutrition, when women are not feeding themselves enough to meet physical demand. And I think that's the most important one. This like hormone balancing, let's just keep it simple. You need to eat enough to account for your energy expenditure and to maintain your hormones. Also remember, all these protocols are from Dr. Stacey Simpson, unless I literally say, this is what Keltie does. Number 2, focus on getting quality food versus food tracking. Research shows that mental effort of counting calories causes stress, fatigue, and burnout that leads to binging and feeling miserable. Keltie's non-professional tip coming in here. All the advice I've been giving from nutritionists that I found most helpful for me is just like educate yourself on nutrition. Portion sizes, carbs, fat, protein, fiber, and just like have an idea if you're someone who struggles to maintain their weight, whether that's feeling enough or overfeeling, whatever, it depends on you and your goals. And whether it be as simple as some people tracking using calorie counting for a couple weeks in their life just to realize it and then can tell yourself, okay, I see it and can step away. But you realize that's Pandora's box. And that's always a tip. Once you count, you can't never unsee it. So maybe you're like, you know what? I'm really obsessive about numbers. This isn't good. Don't open Pandora's box. Learn, you know what? A fistful of protein is a good portion size. And so look at like eyeing it. There's great resources on there on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Just look for someone who's a registered dietitian. And I would type like registered dietitian portion sizing and they can help just educate you if that's something you struggle with. But just realize for a lot of people, counting calories can become obsessive, lead to fatigue, and this like obsessiveness of numbers and science behind food of just like learning how to just eye portion sizes and different macronutrients. So there's a little tip of what you can do to just educate yourself. Which number 3, adequate protein. It's so important for women because it helps with muscle repair and recovery. A lot of our female hormones make it harder to make muscle because estrogen turns down anabolic growth capacity and progesterone turns up muscle catabolism, aka it's more difficult to access amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. So we specifically need to get in protein high in leucine. Dr. Stacey Sims recommends getting before exercise and within 30 minutes after exercise to ensure you have this to help your body not start to break down its muscle. Lesson number 4, 1 pound does not equal 3,500 calories. And that is why counting calories is actually so not beneficial. Just a summary, those labels on the back, they can be within like, I forget what it is, like 5, 10, or 20% error. It's like rounding. They're never 100% accurate. You go on MyFitnessPal MyFitnessPal, a lot's not going to be accurate. How your body digests protein, fiber, like your body's ability to absorb things is impacted by so many different things. So even if you track 100% perfect, you weigh everything, you scan everything, it doesn't matter, it's still not going to be accurate. So that's why it's like, it's okay to have the idea, but if it's stressing you, it's like you're stressing over something you actually can't get perfect because nutritional labels are wrong. And so it's just a better idea of just consistently knowing what you're taking in daily versus obsessing about the numbers. Number 5, very important for us women, don't fast, according to Dr. Stacey Sims. Fasting drives cortisol up, creating an elevated baseline of cortisol, which promotes fat storage. Also, long-term elevation of cortisol can lead to adrenal fatigue. Don't work out fasted, get in even just a small portion of carbs and fats. So that's actually something I've started doing is I'm someone who has no appetite in the morning. Like I'm fine training fasted. I did for a lot of years, but I realized I actually kind of didn't because I never like was hardcore. I wasn't like black coffee off the door. Like I was always having a cappuccino or something, but even just getting that like milk, which is a fat and protein in it, or I just have like a little energy ball or an apple or just get some little bit of carb and protein before your workout will help you actually have a better workout, which results in better results. And a lot of the studies just says, talk about that hormone balancing, one can be just training fasted. And this is for women. So just realize, and you're like, Keltie, I've seen all those studies. A lot of those studies about fasting done on men. And that's the issue. That's the issue. Number 6, front load your food, especially carbs. Have earlier in the day when your body is primed to burn them. More energy means better workouts, which means better results. So that's why I can actually see a lot beneficial to eat more of your food earlier in the day. Which, I don't believe that myth of like after 7 p.m. everything you eat stores as fat. It's just more like your body isn't able to utilize it as much as it is earlier in the day. So why be lethargic all day to eat at night when you can have energy all day? Number 7, marry fruit, vegetables, grains with protein to decrease the impact of carb sensitivity. Something to consider if you're someone who just notices like the blood sugar spikes, the ups and the downs, the ups and downs. Like I know Abby Sharp has a hunger crunching combo. There's some term she uses about that, but it's pretty much like pairing high fiber foods with protein specifically and like some fat in there. Like it will just help you with your satiety so much and you won't feel so much of that up and down. Because that's the one thing about simple sugars is there's nothing to slow down the digestion. So it's like surge of energy. That's why I use it when I'm running. Running, pure sugar in the vest, pop some gummies because I just want pure sugar. I do want pure energy. Do not slow. I need this in me now. Number 8, increase B12 rich foods such as eggs and fish. 9, caffeine. Now this is a tricky one. Most of those studies done on performance and caffeine on males. Now, it does go to show it improves endurance and performance. But because it does improve endurance and performance, how should you time it? For maximum benefits, have an hour before endurance exercise or 20 minutes before high-intensity training. Honestly, I feel like caffeine is one of those ones you got to figure out for yourself. Are you sensitive or are you not? I know my caffeine schedule, but just realize if you never have energy for your workouts or you dip too much in your workout, consider playing around with caffeine. Number 10, carbs. You need them. Yes, women are great at utilizing fats, but no, a high-fat and low-carb diet actually elevates cortisol that can increase muscle catabolism, which is the breakdown of muscles. In general, get a wide variety of whole carbs, things such as sweet potatoes, yams, squash, root vegetables, and other vegetables. Your carb needs will actually change when you reach menopause, but in general, she finds best performance and best body composition with female athletes when their carb intake is about 40 to 45% whole food carbs. Number 11, fat. Why is it so important? It protects our organs, allows estrogen to properly reproduce, and regular menstrual cycles. She recommends try cooking with healthy fats such as olive oil, rice bran oil, nuts and seed butter, oil, avocado, fish, and fish oil. And saturated fats. Not all saturated fats are bad. Specific, stearic acid, which is a form of saturated fats, which is from things such as grass-fed beef, organic chicken, eggs, dairy, dark rich chocolate. And she recommends women get a good amount of dietary omega-3s and get around 30% of your calories from fats. So there, have the little visual on your plate, 40 to 45% of carbs, about 30% fats, and then think of a good serving of protein, and that kind of mindful throughout your day. And she gave some specifics for women depending on your activity level. Carbs, if you are high intensity, so doing 60 to 120 minutes a day of exercise, you'll need 1.6 to 1.8 grams of carbs per pound. If you're extreme endurance, 2 to 5 hours, you'll need 2 to 2.5 grams. If you're extreme 5 hours plus, you'll need 2.7 to 3.1. And non-training days, you'll need 1 to 1.3 to 1.4. Protein. If you're in power strength training, like a lot of you are going to want to do because of this video, she recommends 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. If you're doing endurance training, recommends 0.8 to 1.2 grams, and non-training days, 0.7 to 0.8. And bonus, we talked a lot about the high hormones, the effects of PMS and how much that affects your training and all that. One of the best things she recommends to overcome things like bloating, fatigue, all that is just manipulating your hydration and dietary changes to account for bloating and all that. Now, in her book, she actually gives specific meal plans, specific things, what to do, and I'm not going to do that because then that would be plagiarism. And I'm quite a few years out of university, so I'm not up and up on my plagiarism, so I did my best. This is all in my own words. If I quote her, I'll put quoted, but I'm trying not to just purely rip off the book and give you motivation to maybe go pick up this book after or listen to the audiobook if you really want that nitty gritty of meal ideas and stuff like that. In the book, she talks a lot more about hydration specific, like Jess, go drink some water. I actually need to so bad. Oh. Water break! Dun, 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 dun. It's like intermission for a YouTuber. Who needs a Super Bowl and Beyonce performance? And I could just bop. It's a big pink water bottle with you. Lesson number 6, write it down. We're told to track our sleep, nutrition, everything we're told to track down, but we should also be tracking our menstrual cycle. And this has been a big beneficial for me. I've given you all these tips, but every single woman's going to be different. So for maybe the next month, next few months, write out in a journal in your notes app, just the time you are in your cycle and how you feel and how your workouts are. And that will be a great way for you to structure your workouts in the future. Just knowing I have the most energy here. I don't have energy there. I just want to do yoga. I just want to stay in bed. I'm able to fuel. I'm able to recover, and just try and just write it down, and that will give you better insights into your own body. Protocol number 3, training protocols, a bit more than nitty gritty. Number 1, women should focus on core. And not just abs, everything pretty much but our limbs. And you need to strengthen your core to protect your joints. She recommends don't just do crunches, instead do planks. Number 2, flexibility. Flexibility is overrated and at times detrimental. Focus on mobility instead. Number 3, glute and hip focus. They are your body's steering wheel. Keep them strong for balance and stability. Number 4, get strong. Around age 30, women begin to lose muscle density. To optimize strength training, 1, lift heavy, 2, lift often. A rule of thumb is 2 to 3 sets of 10 reps, 2 to 3 times a week. 3, mix it up. Mix up your routine. Utilize body weight, medicine balls, and kettlebells to get workouts in outside the gym. I'm also going to list some of her favorite exercises she recommends in the book for each of these. Core, things like planks, knee dips, side plank. For general strength, body weight squats, pistol squats, lunge, push-up, plank, burpee, plyometric jumps, tuck jumps, box jumps. Those are all the ones with just body weight. Then some you can do with a medicine ball. Twists, wall ball, ball slams, medicine ball cleans, medicine ball thrusters. Some things you can do with a kettlebell. Single leg deadlift, high pull, snatch, pull, and push press, half get up, kettlebell swing, of course, split squat, kettlebell pass. And then she recommends the compound movements, of course, with weights, dumbbells, barbells, the squats, chest press, the rows, the deadlifts, the classics. And also learn how to properly stabilize your core. Screw feet into ground, squeeze your butt, inhale and lock in, exhale and balance rib cage, neutralize head and shoulders, fully braced. Lesson number 7, birth control. Now this one I really am skeptical about even talking about because this is I'm not a doctor. I'm just quoting a doctor in this. So I'm going to directly quote her from the book here. I generally advise my athletes that if they do need to use birth control, then the IUD is the way to go. It is localized dose of progesterone rather than complete systematic circulation of estrogen and progesterone. Of course, many women are taking the pill for athletic performance purposes. They're taking it not to get pregnant. Hormonal contraceptions containing estrogen and progesterone and work by preventing ovulation, as well as changing the lining of the uterus, making it harder for an egg to be fertilized and implanted if one should seek through. Research has linked hormonal contraceptions with rise in body fat and weight as well as in fluid retention. They also increase your risk for blood clotting and deep vein thrombosis. Oh, wow. I can't say some words. Which for athletes who travel a lot can be a serious problem. And then she talks about one cautionary tale. And there's so many of you who are going to be on birth control, but this one hurts me too, because it's not so black and white. I've been told so many different things from doctors. Currently, I'm being told to go on birth control because of some issues I've had, hormonal. I've been on IUDs. I've been on the wide selection. I've been told different things from professionals, from doctors, from the internet. And the reality is it can affect women's performance. It can affect our mood. It can affect our hormones. And it's so individualized. And that's why I don't want to give any blanket statements. It's just one of those things that I don't also not want to say anything because I was there needs to be more research. And I just hope to say we need more research on how birth control affects women. It's great that we have access to it, but how does it affect our performance, our health? And I want to see more studies. I want to see more studies on women taking birth control and the results down the road. I want to see more research on women in sports and how birth control effective. I want more research. I want more advancement. We are in the future. We shouldn't just pill IUD end. There should be more studies and more things going on. And I know there is, and a lot of you are probably in that. And if you're in that, thankful. But that's why I don't want to also just gloss over that section. But that's one of those things of like, take ownership in your own hands. If I give one recommendation as just like as a big sister friend on the internet, it's just like, don't just blankly take what people say. Do your research, talk to many professionals, and figure out what works best for you. And yeah, man, feel like a woman. Dun, 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 dun. Lesson number 8, overtraining. Overtraining isn't necessarily just how much we train, it's how much we recover. But I think a lot of us just think of training. Actually, our ability to recover has a lot more to do with outside factors. Our work, our family life, how stressed we are, jam-packed schedules, you might have a side hustle. So it's less about the actual training you're doing and just the rest of your day and your ability to recover. I'm going to use myself and my partner as an example. He's a professional athlete. And guys, you would probably think professional athletes are more prone to overtraining. No. Because guess what they do? They train hard for a couple hours in the morning. Sit on the couch the rest of the day, as they should. They're getting paid. That's part of their job is the recovery. But they have all those hours. So say he does 2 hours of workouts, then he goes and veggies all day and just recovers, eats, sleeps, hydrates, a little movement. Me trains 2 hours, goes into the office 9, and then works 8 hours. There's no recovery in that. I'm in a high stress environment. I'm working and cognitive. I got bills. So thinking of overtraining less as how much you're training and more of your ability to recover. And just realize if you have a high stress life, you have busy, you're a mother, you have a side hustle, you're going to have less ability to recover for your training. So you're going to have to try and prioritize all the recovery things. So let's jump into some recovery things. Protocol number 4, 1, come on, you know this, 7 to 8 hours of sleep, duh. At least 1 day a week of no exercise or just like very light movement. Utilize active recovery methods such as gentle movement on rest days, massage, compression pumps, electrical muscle stimulation devices, foam roller, and lacrosse balls. Protocol number 5, get tested. This is in with the realm of medicine 3.0, but getting things like your blood work, urine testing. The reality is we don't have all the research right now for how women react for things. And so we have to take ownership into our own hands right now, which is costly and that sucks. Like this should be just a way of life and it sucks it's not. But if you have the resources and ability to do, she recommends, is just do little experiments on yourself. Get your blood work done as regularly as you can. You can do things like urine testing and just see how you react to different training stimulants, different nutrients, different supplements. And it is definitely like a luxury thing for a lot of people. But if there's one investment I've made that I'm so thankful for is like going and getting full blood work panels done every couple of years, because I just know I have that. Like every few years I can go back and like, oh, this is how this is changing. During that time I was doing this kind of training, and it's just the only way to truly know what works best for me. So you have the resources, definitely consider it. And luckily there's new things like Function Health and all that. Like I see they're coming up of like, it's that, which I would love to test for a video for you guys. And I plan to like start testing all those things. I'm just Canadian. So I DM them. I'm like, can I, you want to do it? They're like, no, you're not a US citizen. I'm like, but can we, they're like, no. I'm like, I tried. But I will be testing those kind of things. Comment down below any other things you guys want me to test, because I just love testing things for you guys and just seeing if it's worth your time and money. Before we finish off the last few lessons, 2 little specific needs. Number 1, pregnancy. She recommends staying active and maintaining a healthy diet for both the mother and the developing baby. Nutrition. Generally about an extra 100 calories a day in the first trimester, 300 in the second. But I'm not professional. That's what the book says. If you're pregnant, please look more into it. Don't just blatantly take me. That's just what the book says. On that note, weight gain is normal and healthy. 15 to 35 pounds, depending on your starting point. And then most importantly, let's talk training tips. Is exercise during pregnancy is encouraged, and it's good for the baby's health. And really, it's not that much different from your regular workouts. Do cardio, run, walk, swim, cycle, 36 minutes most days a week, and do resistance training 2 times a week, and adjust how you feel. Once again, that was just the rapid fire. That could be a whole video, but that's the summary of what she recommends. And specific need number 2, menopause. Declining estrogen levels and increased risks of osteoporosis happen during this time. These changes in hormones also make exercise harder. You're more sensitive to carbs and likely more blood sugar swings and need less carbs overall. Your body utilizes protein less effectively, so quality protein and timing is more important. Due to hormone changes, it will also disrupt your sleep. The most important thing for recovery, the best thing you can do to improve sleep quality is better behavioral standpoint. So regular bedtime, eliminate screens at night, cool room, and manage caffeine and alcohol. Lesson 9. One size fits all. She just emphasized a need for personal strategies and consider women's own unique physiology. So that is the best thing you can do, especially if you're an athlete. Woman is just figuring out what you need specifically for nutrition and training and tweaking everything for your own needs. We're all built different. She talked about ectomorphs, endomorphs, mesomorphs in the book. And this book's a couple years old, but just so many of us are built different. Like I have friends who build glutes so easily, some who are taller, some who are shorter, some who are more fast twitch, slow twitch, some who utilize fat better, some higher carbs. Like we're all built so different, and really the best thing you can do is take into account the difference women need and the different things you need specifically. And then these are a great way for just your own self. Like for example, you can test your heart rate zones, see where your heart rate is in each zone, and then see how it improves over time. You can use pee sticks to monitor things as nitrate, pH, ketones, glucose, muscle oxygen saturation. You can do things like VO2 max training and then get that tested. And then, of course, you can get blood testing for glucose, total cholesterol, vitamin D, B12, iron, cortisol, and all those things to account for your own nutrition. And lesson number 10, we're just finishing with some fun facts. Flying is more dehydrating during the most hormonal peaks of your menstrual cycle. So really hydrate when you're PMSing, like the last few weeks. Fun fact. And number 2, it's not in your imagination. Women's hands and feet are indeed colder than men's. And there is episode number 1 of Keltie's Book Club, name pending. But I just thought it'd be a fun little series occasionally on this channel is to I'll binge read an entire book and get the main points and break it down into lessons and protocols that you can implement in your days. Let me know your thoughts. Any other books, or maybe not even books, like people like Dr. Stacey Sims I could do, comment down below and I'd be happy to bring that to you guys. Or this was just a one-time fun thing. I'd love to hear down in the comments, or any other fitness trends, supplements, technology, skincare, wellness, health you would love me to test. Comment down below. And most importantly, have a great day. Go pet a dog. Love you guys. Bye.